So I love PCVR. That is why I got super excited, when the big screen Beyond here got mentioned, and it was a headset that I immediately pre-ordered because I missed having a really good PCVR headset. Even though I have a Quest 3 and stuff like that, it doesn't compare it to having a really good PCVR headset that has high resolution, these OLED panels, and everything like that. And I love PCVR. That's kind of where I started, obviously, with VR. And there's nothing like PCVR when games are actually designed for it and actually take advantage of what PCVR can bring to VR. And that's coming from somebody who loves the Quest and the Quest 3. I love those headsets, but again, PCVR, getting involved into these worlds and stuff like that and seeing the graphics and the horsepower that you can get out of PCVR is bar none amazing, and I love it. And that's exactly why I'm doing this list today, to tell you guys about my 12 favorite games of the year that released in 2023 that were on PCVR. I know a lot of people keep saying PCVR is on its down end and we don't get a lot of games released. And while some of that may be true, or we don't get a lot of the games that release on the Quest over on the PCVR, which is unfortunate, but understandable when the devs are small and stuff like that, there's still always a ton of fun and great games to play on PCVR every year. And I hope that the devs, keep seeing and we keep growing as a community on the PCVR, so we get these games ported over from the Quest and they keep bringing these games over for us for PC. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video.
Gaming tech, eating brekkie is the gaming tech. Going for a brekkie is the gaming tech. Gaming tech is the gaming tech. Gaming techie.
The first one on the list here, coming in at number 12, is going to be Hellsweeper VR. And this is a game from the same makers that brought you Sorrento VR, and this is a first-person action combat game, and it is amazing. It's exactly what we wanted out of a sequel to Sorrento. If you guys have played that game before, the movement system was probably the thing that stands out the most from Sorrento, where you're doing backflips and doing all these crazy jumps and stuff like that to kill your enemies. This is that game with just even more so over there, with 18 different maps in the game. You can play single player or cooperatively to survive against other people, and play with your friends, and the graphics are obviously fantastic, using the telekinesis powers that you have and using the mystical powers that they give you and upgrading your character to have even more different powers and all that kind of stuff. Over 10 different enemy types, and like I said, over 18 different maps. There's a good amount of variety. Graphics are fantastic, and it plays super well on the PCVR. If you guys are fans of Sorrento VR and you were looking to a sequel to that game in that same kind of vein, this is definitely that game for you. Hellsweeper coming in at number 12. The next one here, coming in at number 11, is Seventh Guest VR. So this is a game that even caught me by surprise because I never played the original that this is obviously based off of, but I'm usually not a big fan of puzzle games, but this game definitely immersed me as soon as I started playing it, because the atmosphere of the actual game is what really stands out in this game. The way that they did, the actual storytelling, it's all really well done. I love exploring the mansion, and even though I'm not the biggest fan of puzzle games, I want to do these puzzles because I want to see how the story progresses as somebody who never played the original. And the graphics on PCVR, of course, are amazing. It's as sharp as they get, and everything looks really good. And the way that they brought the mansion to life, and the way that they did the style of the actual telling the story, is really cool. And I have a blast exploring this game. Seventh Guest at number 11. The next one here, coming in at number 10, is the newest game on the list for sure. It literally came out 4 days ago, and that's Five Nights at Freddy, Help Wanted 2. This is essentially, obviously everybody knows Five Nights at Freddy's at this point, and this is a mini-game compilation of all the different, games and stuff like that, and it's all about the jump scares and stuff like that. And this is a sequel to the original Help Wanted. I do think it seems like Help Wanted, the original, might be a little bit more scary than this one, but the mini-games here are much better than the original one. There's over 40 mini-games on here, and they're all unique to each other. And there are still some jump scares, don't get me wrong. I just think there might have been even more quality jump scares in the first one. But regardless, everything that is here is really good. They really up the variety of the actual mini-games on here, which is much better than the original one. And if you're into the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise, you're definitely going to feel right at home here. I've been playing this ever since it came out a few days ago, and it definitely belongs on this list. They did a great job with the sequel, with a variety of mini-games and the total amount of mini-games, the graphic style, and this is a great game to put people in when your friends come over for sure. Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted 2 coming in at number 10. The next one on this list coming in at number 9 is I Expect You to Die 3. So this is the third sequel in the franchise here. And for those of you guys who have not heard of this game, this is kind of like your escape room type game where you're going in and they give you a scenario that you're kind of stuck in, and you have to explore the different areas and explore the area that you're in to basically escape the room that you're in. And this one really takes it up a notch. They really keep getting so creative with the actual missions that they put you in and stuff like that, and they get they're way more grandiose than the other two original games before, which are already amazing. But this one just, you never know what you're going to get thrown at next, and it's more grandiose than the other one. It's really, innovative with the way that they're, what they're doing and what they're putting you in. And the puzzles in here are really, really good. The graphics, of course, on PCVR are fantastic. If you like escape room type games, this is definitely the franchise for you. And this third one is probably my favorite of the three. So, I Expect You to Die 3, coming in at number 9. So the next one here coming in at number 8 is the Light Brigade. The Light Brigade is a roguelike VR shooter with obviously realistic gunplay and immersive light magic. It's really, really cool with the way that you unlock weapons, the upgrades, the classes, the abilities that you get as you keep fighting. And the game really opens up after you actually technically beat the game, and then the game just adds even more variety and even more things to do after you actually quote-unquote beat the game. So there's a lot here to get into even after the game is actually finished. The gunplay is really tight. It works really well. The graphics are obviously really, really fun. And as a roguelike game, I know we see a lot of roguelike games in VR over and over again, but this one really stands out with the upgrade system, the weapons, and the way that the game just works, and the graphics, art style, and all that kind of stuff. So I really think this is my favorite roguelike game to come in VR in a very, very long time. The Light Brigade, coming in at number 8. The next one here coming in at number 7 is Ghosts of Tabor. So this one is really cool because it stands out as, if you guys are familiar with games like DayZ and Tarkov and stuff like that, this is that kind of game done in VR. This is a VR FPS game where it's PvP and PvE, but it's a survival game where you're going to use your skills and your resources to basically survive, and you have to sometimes scavenge loot, you have to craft and stuff like that to basically last as long as possible. The game modes really lean into that. It's obviously what sets this game apart from just a regular VR shooter is those survival skills, and is those looting, and is that crafting that you have to do throughout the game. Sometimes in PvE and sometimes in PvP as well. Really, really good. This game has been around for a little while already, and people seem to be loving it, and that is me included as well. It's a really popular game, and it plays fantastic on PC and looks fantastic in PC, of course. Ghost of Tabor, coming in at number 7. The next one here coming in at number 6 is called Breachers, and Breachers is for all my Rainbow Six fans out there who love going in and either cooperatively with their friends to take out all the terrorists on the map, or basically doing versus multiplayer against each other, where you're obviously trying to breach into the building and you have to plant mines and you have to sneak around corners, and it's a very tactical style gameplay that you're playing with your friends. This is that game in VR. It's literally a Rainbow Six in VR, and it's so good. It's turned out to be really popular. Obviously on the PC, it looks fantastic and runs really well, and it's just a really, really good either cooperative or versus multiplayer game that you can play in VR that gives you that same feel of those games. Really tactical style multiplayer game. The maps are all really well done. There's nothing as good as just going on top of a building, on top of a window, breaching down to the bottom, planting mines and hitting grenades and stuff like that around the corner, and tactically playing with your teammates in VR. So good. There's not a lot of games like this on there for sure. So Breachers, coming in at number 6. The next one here coming in at number 5 is called Propagation Paradise Hotel. And I was keeping an eye on this one for a very long time, and I'm super excited that it turned out to be as good as it did when it came out. I'm a huge fan of horror games in VR, and obviously that is exactly what this game is. You're following a story and, getting scared completely out of your mind like I am, and you're trying to go and solve the puzzles and go through each room and see what's going on in the story, searching for things and stuff like that. The game is super well done. The atmosphere is amazing, and playing this on the big screen beyond with those OLED panels with those deep blacks and stuff like that really tends to making these horror games even that scarier, because when it's dark in a room, I really can't see anything, and when something pops out of nowhere, it really puts you on your toes and stuff like that. But the game is super well done. It's one of my favorite horror games to come out in recent years. If you're a horror game fan, this is definitely one you need to put on your radar. Propagation Paradise Hotel, coming in at number 5. The next one here coming in at number 4 is Crossfire Sierra Squad. So this is a game that I think is kind of going under the radar because people thought it was going to be a bad game. And I thought the same thing when it first came out. I was like, oh, how good can this game actually be? And then it came out, and especially on the PC, man, the graphics in this game look so good. Like AAA standards good, and it's just really, really fun. It starts off a little slow with the first couple of missions where you're like, oh, this is just going to be Time Crisis in VR. But then it just keeps getting better and better and better, and there's so many missions. There's over 50 missions in the game, and you can play them cooperatively with your friends going the whole way through. It's so good. The cooperative nature of it is fantastic. Not many games that you can play a game like this, you know, cooperatively. Each of those 50 missions that I'm talking about probably takes like 10 or 15 minutes. There's a lot of gameplay on here, and each of those missions have good variety in them. You're not just doing the same thing over and over again. The graphics are really, really good, and it's so much fun to play on PCVR, and it looks fantastic. So guys, if you guys have not played a game like this and you love your VR shooters, Crossfire Sierra Squad coming in at number 4. The next one here coming in at number 3 is Arizona Sunshine 2. So I've been having a blast with this game. I've actually been playing it so many times that I've played it on the Quest and on the PlayStation VR 2 and on PC as well. And PC is my favorite way to play it because obviously the graphics are the best on there where they have better lighting and stuff like that. But the game in and of itself is so much fun. I mean, you know, you obviously have your dog Buddy there, and he travels with you, and he really makes the story. It really makes you care, and having a dog companion in VR is super fun. The physics of the game are obviously really well done. You know, killing the zombies and stuff like that feel as good as ever. And just going through this story has been a lot of fun, you know, exploring the different areas. I think as a sequel to the original game where things started 7 years ago, this is one of the first games I played in VR that really gave me the wow factor. And this game is just that much fun all over again, going through the campaign and going through the story. They do have a horde mode as well when you actually beat the campaign, but the campaign is obviously the meat of the game. And you know, obviously a good amount of variety in the locations that you're playing in, killing the zombies and listening to the story and following your pal Buddy there really ties everything together. I think they did a super good job. And of course, the best thing about it is you can play the whole entire game in cooperative with one of your other friends. And that's obviously a rarity in VR most of the time. We're playing a full entire story you can play with your friend, and in this game you can. So Arizona Sunshine 2, guys, coming in at number 3. And the next game here, coming in at number 2, is The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners Chapter 2 Retribution. I mean, what else can be said? I mean, The Walking Dead, when it came out, the original one, everyone was raving about it, and the sequel just ups everything up a notch, especially on PC. Graphics look even better, I think, than the original one did, and everything about this game is expanded. Even though it takes place in the same, you know, map per se as the original, everything has changed in this game. There's more locations to go into, there's more environments to explore, there's more buildings to go into. Even the buildings that you saw before have all been completely changed, and it's just a fantastic game to go through. It's a perfect sequel, in my opinion, to the original one, where everything about it is better, more weapons, more variety, more everything. And you know, it's The Walking Dead in VR. I mean, it's so good, and if you guys like the original one, I think you guys are going to really like the sequel. Everything is kind of blown up and done even better than it was the first time around. And it's obviously my second favorite VR game on PC this year, and it's so good. The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners Chapter 2 Retribution coming in at number 2. And the number 1 game on PCVR coming in at number 1 is probably not a surprise to most people who keep up with PCVR, but that is Vertigo 2. Man, the fact that this game is made by one guy is literally insane. This is literally AAA standards, go up against Half-Life Alyx type of caliber game here. It is amazing, and it's not just the actual story that you go through and how much the variety, you know, takes you through the campaign, the physics of the game take you through the campaign. You're doing something different every single time that you're playing through different levels in this. But then on top of that, they added a free update where you can actually now download people's created levels, and people are creating all these different kind of game modes and levels in the game as well. So it's going to be an infinite game that you can play forever, kind of like Half-Life Alyx, where the modding scene is kind of there and doing creative things still to this day and keeping that game alive. That's exactly what this game is doing as well. But I love the graphic style of this. I love what he did. I mean, this guy is super, super talented. Vertigo 2 is so good. There's nothing else like this. And if there's one game you play in VR this year on PC, this is definitely the game you need to play. Everything about it is great. The story, the graphics, the campaign, the, you know, variety, the missions that you're doing, super, super fun. And it's just all that much more impressive that one guy did it. I mean, I would still be here saying the same thing, even if it was a whole talented studio. It's just even more amazing that it wasn't. So, Vertigo 2 coming in as my #1 PCVR game. Guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this list. I love PCVR. You know, that's why I have a separate headset for my Big Screen Beyond, because I want the best caliber headset I can get my hands on to play these PCVR games, because it really is that much better. As much as I love my Quest 3 and everything, there's nothing like playing a PCVR game that is actually made for PCVR and takes advantage of having, you know, those better graphics that you can get in PCVR and getting you that much more immersed. And these are the best 12 games that came out for PCVR this year. Guys, hope you guys enjoyed the list. If you guys have any questions, as always, leave it down below. If not, thank you guys for watching. Till next time.